Hello, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of Team Talks. Today, we have Perdue, who is a serial successful marketing executive, entrepreneur, and board member that is passionate about driving sales overnight while building brands over time. 20 plus years in experience in driving marketing innovation, turnaround to profitability. She has collectively managed in excess of $5 billion in advertising media investment with 100% accountability for impacting performance across hundreds of brands, starting up to blue chip. Welcome, Dawn, and thank you for being with us today.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, so let's start with the first question. So, can you tell us about your journey into marketing and entrepreneurship and how you get started?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it was through, believe it or not, my sister. But my in direct marketing, but my precursor to that was I really loved math, and I loved analyzing numbers, and numbers just made a lot of sense to me. Always had, and I could have a knack for looking at numbers and saying this is right or this number is wrong. And then my sister at the time was, so I was, my first career was trading stock options in Chicago on the floor with 3,000 men and 30 women. That was my first career. And really, my sister was involved in advertising, and the form of advertising we were doing it's very much about accountable advertising. They call it e-commerce, direct to consumer, which is very measurable. So for every $1 you spend, you're expecting a return in sales through your shopping cart or through your Amazon store or through these other environments. And so quickly got involved in that business early on in the early days with my sister, and ended up being a part of successfully building and selling some agencies, very successful agencies. And then decided to go on my own and create a what I call consultancy and all the best practices in advertising. I started in digital advertising in 1999 when it was just AOL. It was before Google, was early in on Meta, which is, as you know, which is Facebook, Instagram, and early in on TikTok as well. So I've been in digital marketing for over 20 years. So you don't really meet a lot of people like me, but very much e-commerce and what we call return on investment, ROI based, and trying to sell lots of products. So I really started my path and my journey was really understanding what triggers would move better performance. And you have to have a love for digital advertising, which I did in the early days. And really just being able to measure it, like you put an ad up, or you'd run a influencer video, and you'd see all the traffic come in, and then you would analyze, well, did those visitors turn into website visits, or did they turn into a download, did they turn into a purchase, or were they just a bunch of people looking? And then we'd assess and put using our math side of our brain, we'd say, wait a minute, this influencer is worth nothing. As celebrity as they are, they're attracting a lot of people that won't buy. But these, like, young influencers on YouTube, in the early YouTube days, they were just worth so much more money because they come in and they'd say, try this product, and they would try the product and they'd buy the product. So we very much about measuring and accountability and understanding the different traffic that comes to your website, whether it be, from Instagram versus TikTok, whether it be influencer video, someone searched in Google for a keyword that you were ranking for or bidding on. So, and then we'd measure what happens on the website, and then we'd measure how can we make performance better. So is it an offer of a buy one, get one free promotion versus a 10% off, or a gift with purchase? When you buy today, you get this extra gift. So we'd measure not just the media, we'd measure what promotions would do well, and then we'd measure what happens when we got to the website. Did they fall off the cart? Did they complete the shopping cart? Those types of things, and then we would optimize all those different levers and generate lots and lots of revenue for our clients.
So, just connecting with what you just said. So, you have five businesses already, right?
Yes, I've been a part of 5 businesses.
So that's a lot of businesses for sure, But
Yeah.
what was the biggest challenge you faced when launching a business, and how did you overcome it?
Well, first and foremost, it's product market fit. Is this product and or service, which is the same common issues you have in any business, is this service and or product something that people want to buy or want to try, right? Does it fit? Is it something that's typically, if it's something that's new, unique, innovative, outside the box, it typically does better, right? Everybody sells pens, for example, or everybody sells beauty or skin cream. But if you can put it in maybe a different type of packaging, or these three products do something better for your skin, and you can show that, it's really about the consumers will tell us the ideal product market fit. So we would with Dumont Project, which was the last one that was sold. It was really a new idea. We were coming in and helping clients build out all of their digital marketing and advertising capabilities in house, which typically and was not really was less than 10% of people. They were using agencies, and we wanted to help them build their strength from within, and then bring advanced ideas and innovation from technology tools, media, things that they didn't do. So we would look at their businesses. So I think product market fit is the most important thing, and then pricing it competitively, because we're there's competitors that do what I do all around the world. It's like, commoditized. So you have to price it competitively. So when you're out there, not just that your service or your product is unique, it has to be priced right. If you're too high, they're not gonna come in, and if it's too
Mhm.
low, you'll get a lot of demand. But like then you have to service it. So that
Yeah.
first main point is product market fit, and the second one then is finding the right people, hiring and training. It's like a common problem: hiring and training. And who do you hire first? Who do you hire second?
Yeah.
Um, and I typically, I've been very successful in my career, always having partners. Partners have always been a successful formula for me. Being a one-man band and building it on your own is just super hard and super lonely, to be honest. And figuring out what your strengths are, and then what strengths do you need to find that will help complement you. Like, I don't like doing, honestly, the back office, like HR, finance stuff. So you hire people that can do finance, HR, and those people aren't too expensive, but I was good at these other things. So
Mhm.
finding people that can complement you and allow you to do what you're best at, right? Those were usually pain points, is finding the right people and then training them up and keeping them, because in this climate, especially in digital, you've got to pay them more. You've got to give them more perks and more bonuses, because you're competing with Google wants to hire them, Meta wants to hire them the minute they get a year's worth of experience. So there has to be a very strong retention to keep them. And that could be in the form of compensation, in the form of bonuses, annual bonuses, compensation in the form of equity after a certain number of years, and they can earn it. So you have to have something that keeps them sticky, and isn't just we're all great friends. There's got to be some type of beyond just the growth and the education. It has to be some type of something that they can say, hey, I got a raise, or I got a bonus, or I got an appreciation award. And there's a whole bunch of things like that.
So, out of all of these things, right? So, which advice would you give someone trying to start a business but they don't know where to begin? So, what would be like? Okay, that's the first thing you need to do.
Yeah. So I would first understand the competitive climate, like what business you want to be in, or what product you want to market, who else is in that business, who are the competitors, and you can really just, it's very easy to troll all over, YouTube, Google, Instagram, Meta, and you're just trolling and you're seeing what they're saying. Like, what are they promising? What does their website look like? What does their mobile experience look like? What is their pricing? So you really have to, I call it a SWOT: strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you put a little Excel spreadsheet together and you list out all the competitors, and you write down, like, what is their core service? What is their price point? What is it they're saying that their product makes them different? So you have to think about it like almost like, and then you have to sit back and be like, okay, there's 30 competitors doing what I'm doing. Make my So that's kind of the very first thing I would just call a SWOT analysis.
Um, so going back to the advertising part, you've worked with some huge advertising budget, right? So
Yeah,
what's the key to making sure that marketing investments pay off even for smaller businesses or startups?
yeah. So first you want to start small,
Yeah, of course.
because
Yeah.
I've worked, if I think about just the last 10 years, I've worked with like Procter and Gamble and Nestle and M&M's. These are names I'm sure you've heard of. Procter and Gamble owns tons of brands too. Like big brands like Hulu, GNC, Allstate. I don't know if you know these names, Johnson & Johnson,
Well, yeah.
and then like you got Brooks Brothers and you got Guess, everyone knows Guess jeans. Like there's a whole bunch of them, but it's just when you think about that. And then I work with a lot of startups, right? So it really starts with what is our go-to-market plan? And that, again, starting a business or helping a client, the first thing is it kind of goes back to who are the competitors? What are they saying? What is their pricing? And then the first dollar I want to spend is in communication, meaning like we call it MarCom, marketing communications. And so you have to set up like what are the different messages and like almost think of like snackable sound bites, like 30-second videos or like 2 paragraph, 3 paragraph, like quick, easy, like what are the reasons to, it's called what are the reasons to believe. And then you really want to start with your messaging, I call messaging map. And then you want to start seeding. We always start with seeding. So we start and we publish content on our website, on our social media environments, because building out your social media is super, it's a foundation of what you're doing. And they want to push it out to influencers in the industry. We want to push it out even with press releases, which are, they're like $100 for a press release. Press releases are not expensive. And then you want to actually then perhaps consider buying some keywords and getting some traffic to your website, optimizing your website to get free traffic. You want to consider using affiliate marketing, so paying others on what I call a share of sale or performance. Pay them 20% of everyone that buys on your website, and if your product is $30, you give them 20% of $30. So to think about the channels, and you really kind of start with your content marketing play and what you're going to say, because you can't just say one thing, you have to say different things to different people, different segments. So we spend a lot of time with developing the content messaging. And there's like content messaging could be, for example, what are the reasons for someone to believe in your product? Just tell a story about the reasons to believe in your product. Give me another story that's all driven about testimonials, real stories, real people that that have tried your product and are going to, almost like an ambassador, right?
Mhm.
Called Real Stories, Real People. Another story you can do is, I like to think of it as better quality, better price, better value, better. And that's like its own story, right? So you have to think about stories, and stories could also be hero and villain. Hero and villain is if you're selling like teeth whitening cream, right? The hero is crust whitening strips, right? And the villain is the plastic that's on your teeth and makes them yellow. So you can tell a story from the hero villain angle, right? So you have to think about the stories to tell, and then you then create those stories. And that it's, with ChatGPT, it's so easy. You just need a framework, and I'm happy to share that framework.
So with those still the marketing, what do you think is the biggest difference between marketing for a small company and a large company?
Um, it's interesting you said that. It comes down to the number of staffers or people you have. And what's really interesting is even with the big companies, you would be shocked. I would walk into big companies and say, for example, like a beauty brand, and they would have like this lipstick's really cool, or they'd have an influencer doing trying on the makeup, right?
Mhm.
And then they'd have a story, about that it's a deal, like promotional driven story, but yet they wouldn't tell all the other stories, like the quality of the makeup, right? It's made with, it's all natural, or the story of we give back 10% of our profits to a nonprofit. They wouldn't have that story. Or they wouldn't have a story because you have all different types of skin. You have, Swedish and French skin, which is me, American. You have Portuguese folks, you have Asian, you have African, and they never would have, they'd have one photo shoot with one model, and they wouldn't show all the different ethnicities. Real simple stuff like that. You always want to be diverse in how you think about things, because you want to be able to appeal to the customer base. Now, if you're just marketing in Portugal, then you want to market to just the Portuguese, right? And that you don't have to do what I would just say, but you have to think about, and then you think about the ages. Am I going to market to a 20-year-old versus a 30-year-old versus a 40-year-old versus a 50-year-old? Well, then you need 4 different models. And a lot of these organizations, they would just want the 20-year-old. I'm like, no, 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 no. You want to talk to the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, and the 50-year-olds. So we need to have models that we need to do like stories with these different ages, right? Anyway, so that's probably very simplistic, but just age, gender, and ethnicity, those are all just segmenting that way makes performance do better, as long as you have a meaningful story.
Yeah, like because you're trying to appeal to the most of the market you can, right? So you're trying to approach these types of customers, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, and if you are always yelling and selling promo, 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 guess what? They're only going to buy on promo.
Mm-hmm.
And then your business is on sale, and that's not a good business to have, because then they will only buy from you when you're on sale, which is what you don't want to train. You don't want to always be on sale,
Yeah, of course.
you know.
Um, you said like a lot of these big companies had a lot of mistakes in it. So what you would say is one mistake you see a lot of like entrepreneurs doing in the early days, and that what they should avoid.
Well, they typically want to do everything, and so they're a generalist, not a specialist, right? So the first mistake is they want to do everything, and you have to check yourself in and be like, I'm not the expert at everything. So my first recommendation to anyone, even in high school, is be a specialist, not a generalist. So what is that specialty for you? Is it, I want to be involved in the finance side of things because math is easy for me. I want to be involved in the creative side because that is easy for me, right? I want to be involved in, and I think about it that way. I want to be involved in the engineering, like software engineering side. I want to be a coder. Okay. I like operations, like helping put it all together, right? I want to do data analytics, which is all the numbers, because a big mistake a lot of these bigger companies make is they don't hire, like, if you want to grow your marketing, your e-commerce, and your direct to consumer, if you need to have data at the center of everything. And even if you're in retail, you have to know how much sold through, how many people came through Amazon, how many people came through here, how many people came to my website, right? It's data, right? And it's available every day, all day
Yeah.
long. So they oftentimes forget to hire someone that comes from the world of data analytics. And I would recommend to the the people in high school is, if you think about the most in-demand roles in marketing, and I say e-com because that e-commerce is growing 12% a year.
Jesus. Yeah.
12% a year if you think about income, and maybe I'm going off topic, but if you think of the fastest growing, like investment banking is growing 2% a year. Retail is not. Retail's flat, maybe 2%. E-commerce and people buying online is growing 12% a year. So you first want to think about there's what you're passionate about, and then what industries are growing, and you want to be part of those industries. People they forget that part. And then the second, this is important advice, but you could take for what you want, but is that, what is the effective hourly wage by industry? Like, let's think about that, because a lot of the moms and dads do what you're passionate about. I'm like, okay, great. I want to be in music. Well, great, be in music, and you're gonna make like $6, $8 an hour. Is that $6, $8 not gonna make you happy and allow you to get into the house and the car you want and the life you want? Like, you have to think, it's almost like you have to begin with the end in mind. What kind of lifestyle do I want? Do I want to be living in a house with a pool and a car? And again, maybe every kid's gonna say, of course I want that. But like you have to think about it. So what are those careers that make the most money? The ones that make the top three is um, hedge funds, investment management. So people who are involved in venture capital, investment management, really hard to get careers in that field. And you got to go to top college, like really hard. The number three across all industries is e-commerce. And e-commerce, like I said, is growing 12% a year. So there's nothing but jobs, right? So then you think about, okay, well, what jobs in that industry would I do? Could I do marketing? Could I do data analytics? Can I learn how to be a coder? Do I want to be a UX, UI creative designer? Do I want to run e-commerce operations? Those are all in demand, and salaries increasing every year. And again, I'm saying that for people who want to get involved in a specialized world, right? Before they start to be an entrepreneur. Again, I'm not recommending against being an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur a long time, but that would be how I would think about it if I were your age. Like that's how I recommend.
So, lastly, I'd like to end in a more personal note. So, Teen Talks is all about helping teens to connect with professional fields and careers to be more truly engaged with while studying and working their future. So, can you tell us if you're happy in your profession and what drives you, your connection with your work?
Well, I retired, and I retired at a very young age, and my sister did too. Actually, she was in an industry very similar to mine, and really, what drove me was I loved, um, I loved to build things. I truly loved to build things, and I loved um, delivering better outcomes, like whether that be saving clients money or giving them more traffic and more revenue for the same dollars or less dollars. So I really liked performance, and I liked being accountable to numbers, because in the creative world, and I am creative, marketing is creative, but if it's just creative and it's like a big idea of, oh, I want to paint an airplane and use that as a marketing, that's very creative. But what if the client says, well, that didn't generate any sales or any traffic to my stores, right? I
Yeah.
stuck, I stayed in an area that I knew was going to grow, right? And I looked at the numbers every single day. And by looking at the numbers every day and showing that performance and testing and optimizing, like I'm going to tweak this creative for this promotion or this media or this influencer. By doing that, I was accountable for driving better outcomes, and I was really proud of that. And it's an amazing industry.
Look, thank you so much for your time and for being here and especially sharing your amazing experience. Do you have any final words?
My only final word is just focus on a specialty, not a general area. If you could do that, you will do very well, and focus on an industry that's growing and that's not flat. That's my only advice. And then yes, something you like, of course, you're passionate about, but there's hobbies and there's business, and hobbies don't make money. Business makes money.
Wow, great advice.
I'm
Okay,
admittedly I'm a capitalist, so I'm not gonna say that I think that that's important, because we at the end of the day we all have to be able to afford our lifestyle. So
yes, of course. Okay, guys, see you next time. Bye bye.